welcome to In Conversation. On the 8th of September, the International Solar Alliance is all set to organize the world's first solar technology summit. It's going to be organized virtually and it'll be attended by the who's who of the global solar landscape. ISA, or International Solar Alliance, is the first treaty-based intergovernmental organization to be headquartered in India and is co-founded by India and France. So what should we expect from this summit, and will it help attain the objective of One Sun, One World, One Grid? To talk about that and more, we have with us the Director General of the International Solar Alliance, Upendra Tripathi. Welcome, Mr. Tripathi, to DD India.
Thank you. Thank you.
In November 2020, ISA will complete 5 years since its launch, and we are also counting down to the first World Solar Technology Summit that ISA is going to shortly organize. Tell us about the summit. What is it all about?
Well, thank you for that question. Actually, on 30th of November 2015, the Bhumi Puja was done. It was launched in Paris in COP21. We got a legal personality, after the host country agreement was signed with India. That was, 6th of June 2018. So roughly, we have got a legal personality for slightly more than 2 years. And so far, we're giving a lot of emphasis on capital side. If you look at the framework agreement, we have a target of mobilizing $1,000 billion by 2030 as investment in our member countries. So far, in the last 2.5 years, we launched 6 to 7 programs, and most of the emphasis was on capital, how to mobilize capital. Like India put in soft loan of $2 billion. France put in 1.5 billion euros. We requested Australia, Japan, the UK, the Netherlands to put in soft loans to promote solar projects in member countries. But in the framework agreement, we have 2 I's. One I is capital, and the other I is technology. And they're both interlinked. If you want to get more investment, you have to also give equal attention to technology part. We made a presentation before the Honorable Prime Minister recently, and the guidance given was that we should also look into the technology side. So this is the first result of that broad guidance we got, and what we are trying to do is that essentially, India has a National Institute of Solar Energy, and France has also a National Institute of Solar Energy. They call it INES. Many other countries have. We would like, these are the technology hubs, and there should be centers of global excellence. In a sense, we would like each member country to have something like that. We call it in our parlance Star C, Solar Technology Application and Research Center. So we would like to go for a Star C network, because R&D and technology is something you just can't import it into a country. It has to be inbuilt. It has to be homegrown. It has to be based on capacity building of scientists, of industry, a demand and supply for technologies. And at the same time, we would like to create a global market of technologies. If you wish, you can go to a platform, you can buy, you can sell, you can find out which are the technologies, the public domain. So keeping these broad goals, the first World Solar Technology Summit is being planned. And we have broadly 5 objectives. One is to create a global platform of technology exchange and reduce the cost of a technology, because you increase the demand and supply. And this is all oriented to one thing, that asatoma satgamaya, take us from darkness to light. Today, you find 700 million people in the world have no access to light. 2 billion women still use primary fuels, not carbon-free, fuels. So if you take these broad clients in our member countries, we need to bring down not only cost to their level, reduce cost. So we talk about, kerosene parity of solar energy, grid parity of solar energy, near zero cost of solar energy. So we have to see that technology is spread. And how do you make them spread? Through mechanisms like this, where we invite all member countries, ministers, and Honorable Prime Minister of India is going to inaugurate. We have invited France, we have invited Togo, Tonga, Peru, the UK. They are all 4 vice presidents of our 4 regions. So we bring a whole lot of people together. That raises the awareness, and that is what we are focusing on.
So you've told us how this summit is going to help attain the core objectives of ISA, and we are also aware that there is going to be participation of the elite as far as the global solar landscape is concerned. You've told us about how several member countries of ISA would be participating in it. Tell us more about the participation.
Well, what we are planning is we are, I mean, if you look at the broad figures of participation, as of now, we have got some 14,000 odd registrations from 119 countries. Mostly, of course, India is interested because it's from the host country. But if you look at even symbolic representation from 119 countries, shows that how popular this event is. Now, we would like to highlight technology. So we have requested the Nobel laureate Stanley Whittingham, to come and speak. He is called the father of lithium-ion batteries. Now, lithium batteries and lithium-ion batteries, there is a major difference. The lithium batteries were not rechargeable. Lithium-ion is rechargeable. And that is what this Nobel laureate did. And he did it in 1977, although he got the Nobel Prize 40 years later. So he will be there to talk on the important role lithium-ion technology plays and how in future, when the storage technology improves, sunlight can be exploited by anybody. It's a free input, at a price-free input, and sun is so kind to everybody. For the next 4.5 billion years, there is no overpricing of inputs. There is free supply of inputs, and the technology that he would talk about is immense. We have got also Bernard Picard, the gentleman who went around the world in a solar aeroplane, and he had a landing in Ahmedabad also those days in 2016. He will be there to talk about how solar technology can be taken from power generation to aviation, to health, to agriculture, to industry. So it is not really only a domain of generating electricity. It can be electricity generation in various sectors. So intersectoral movement. We have got Dharmendra Yogi Goswami. He is a professor who has got 24 patents. And in fact, we have proposed to bring out a journal for ISA, and he will be the editor-in-chief. And this journal is called Solar Compass 360. Now, solar, compass, it always points to the north, and here north is solar. And 360 essentially means a circle. It captures not only solar technologies, it captures policy implementation, it captures policy support, it captures innovation. So it is a wholesome journal that we will publish. He will be the editor-in-chief. And then, of course, we will be having the Honorable Minister for Environment and Energy from France and the President of the ISA, our Power Minister, Mr. R.K. Singh. And apart from that, if you, Honorable Minister, Prime Minister will be there, we are trying to get the President of the African Union, maybe President of France, we are trying to get also the President of the African Union.
So it's going to be a power-packed participation, like you are telling us. And if we look at what's really going to transpire in the summit, then there'll be 4 dedicated sessions. I understand one of them would be on Vision 2030 and beyond. Tell us about broadly what that would entail and how photovoltaic technology is set to form a major part of that.
Well, if you look at PV, as such, it has played a tremendous role in the reduction of cost. In the universalization of solar technologies and solar power generation. And what we are looking at 2030 is a very interesting year because UN has announced that by 2030 there will be universal energy access. Now, if we are talking about universal energy access, which means the PV has to go down to a much different level in societies, in countries. So in this 2030 vision, the experts will be examining how PV can get further advantage in the market. Because if you look at the PV, there are 2 components. One is the fixed component, the silicon, and the other component is the managerial part. How you maximize the efficiency of silicon, given the technology is there, and how you maximize the managerial efficiencies, the scale of aggregation, and you bring down the cost. So there is, you get Tiger panels now, one single panel going almost half a megawatt. And at the same time, earlier if you look at the panels, they used to produce power from one side. Now you have bifacial, they produce power from both sides, the panels. And then you have also panels where, if you make it rectangles, several boxes, earlier if there was shadow on one panel, then the whole panel was disrupted. Now not so, only a portion will be disrupted. So the point is, it is not merely PV is getting more popular, PV is getting more efficient. and more user-friendly. So we are capturing in 2030 and 2030 beyond, when we talk about whole world running with solar, 100% solar, and those are the things that the experts will be capturing. And we have a mix of not only experts, we have a mix of industries who are actually implementing those ideas. We have also a mix of industry associations who broadly capture the views of both the sides, the industry, the scientists, the labs, and bring them together to the field.
Another session would focus on solar energy beyond the power sector. What's the idea behind that?
Well, if actually we are aiming at keeping the global mean temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius, one is, of course, the decarbonization of the power generation, the electricity that we use. But two sectors we have to keep in view: the transportation, the trains, the buses, the other vehicles that we use with diesel or petrol or gas. So, and the buildings. Everybody wants an AC now. Everybody would go for more and more cooling. And then the other thing that is coming up is industrial heating. Now, look at a simple pasteurization plant, milk pasteurization plant. They need water, hot water at 450 degrees Celsius. Suppose they do need that. Do you use solar energy to heat up the water up to 100 degrees and then use electricity, or you use electricity throughout? Now, these are the efficiency mixes that we are talking about. So we are talking about solar heating, we are talking about solar cooling, the new emerging markets. But the more important focus is going beyond electricity, using electricity in the construction sector, home construction sector, and using electricity in the transportation sector. So we are talking about every bus running with electric storage batteries, or at some source we generate all electricity through solar. Those are the things we're talking about when we say going beyond power generation or decarbonizing the whole grids.
So let's now come back to the electricity sector, and there will be a brainstorming session also on Decarbonized Grid, which aims to work on conversion efficiency improvements and declining costs. How will a decarbonized grid be formalized?
I'll give you a simple example. In Gujarat, they have something called, many states have, they're called agricultural feeders. So you identify a few kilometer long electric, grid where most farmers use pumps. So either you solarize each pump or you solarize the entire grid. So everybody draws from solar energy. Now, this is a simple example of, the decarbonized grid. But we are essentially talking about manufacturing, generating processes of electricity, both big solar parks. We're also talking about rooftops, at a small scale, or mini grids, which is the future. When storage improves, the world will be full of mini grids, because a lot of things can be shifted from AC to DC, and mini grids will be quite popular. You don't have to invest in grids like we do now. So when we talk about decarbonized content, it's a macro approach, to micro problems, to local things. So it means a lot of analysis. It means a lot of analysis of applications, and we essentially trim the generation processes to match the supply lines, and conversion efficiency, like solar is DC, right? So we get DC and use in AC, so there is a 6% loss of energy. How can you minimize those conversion losses? More and more efficient machines are coming, more and more efficient management is coming, artificial intelligence is playing a role, 3D printing is playing a role. Everywhere you find that technology is coming at various levels, and in a way that ultimately results in the cost reduction.
There's also going to be focus on disruptive solar technologies, whether ground-mounted or floating or integrated on residential or commercial rooftops. Give us some examples of these disruptive solar technologies that could well be on display or at least discussed.
Very interesting. In fact, we always talk of disruptive technologies. Mobile was a disruptive technology, the way it came and, spread all across. I'm told we have 7 billion mobile phones today, smartphones like you and me, we all have. And if you look at how we charge these mobiles, it consumes some 500,000 megawatt hours of power. And if we can solarize all these mobiles now, the mobile technology itself is disruptive. And another disruptive technology will be that each mobile phone gets charged from solar. And but when we talk about disruptive technology in a broader context, PV, for example, was a disruptive technology. It came and look at the way it has spread the way the prices have come down, the way everybody now uses, it is not only solar parks. We put a small PV in our villages. It provides a light, a solar light, and there is a sensor which switches it on at sunset and switches it off at sunrise. Everything is automatic. So see the role artificial intelligence is coming into play in managing our systems. And even in a distant village, when you talk about a street light, if it goes out of order, there is a mobile phone number written on the lead-acid battery, what they put on lithium-ion battery they put. And you can ring up that mobile number, which will be 100 kilometers away, but they have a network to come and repair. So this is a disruptive technology from a village, for a village. And if you are talking about solar water pumps in the village, just put a pump, whenever sun rises, it picks up water and it provides drinking water. So that is a disruptive technology. And look at LED, for example. Solar, you can charge the LED also through solar, and it's a disruptive technology. India has put some 320 million of LED bulbs. The prices have come down from 400 rupees to 50 rupees, a 5-watt bulb, and we are trying to take it from India to many other countries. So PV itself, it is a disruptive technology, but we are now talking about beyond silicon. For example, there are quite a few research, perovskite, for example, they say in 5-10 years, it is going to be much cheaper than even PV. And we are talking about 3D printing of things, which will be much cheaper than actually manufacturing it. So we have a university called Monash University in Australia, which produces solar panels like long silk cloths, and which you can fly, plug and play, you can use it. So in the lab, you are also now coming to PVs, which are going to hybridize thermal, the heat part of solar light, and the light part of solar light. It has two distinct parts, the heat and light. Now, if you combine both in a panel, the efficiency of the panel will go beyond what it is now. And these are the disruptive technologies that are in the horizon. So like PV, one day you will find non-silicon technologies will be disruptive. So we are going to capture both within dominant industry, PV based now, and the non-dominant industry that is in the lab, how things are going to happen.
The United Nations Secretary General has tweeted that India plans to propose a World Solar Bank. Is that becoming a reality anytime soon? Also, how is that going to be connected to the concept of one sun, one world, one grid?
See, the World Solar Bank is a logical product of the ISAF framework agreement, because ISAF framework, the treaty, in its preamble says that we will mobilize $1,000 billion. Now, if you look at the investment pattern in solar, of course, the globe gets around 150 billion a year, but most of this goes to very few countries, USA, Japan, China, Germany, India, like that. So most of the countries you will find they're deprived from the soft capital they need to take more of the greenfield or other solar projects, brownfield solar projects. So to mobilize in a meaningful way the $1,000 billion by 2030, you need a financial mechanism. So all that ISA is doing in our assembly in October, we are taking a proposal to the assembly to examine and give guidance as to how this bank can come. So essentially what ISA will do, ISA will form an international committee to take, in case the assembly approves it, and this committee will decide where the headquarters will be. And India is, of course, a potential candidate because India is the host country of ISA. And we propose, we will have a detailed project report, and Mr. M.V. Kamath is helping us to, understand those ideas. He was leading the NDB earlier. So we propose a small capital of $10 billion as paid up capital and $15 billion as authorized capital. And what we plan is that over 5 years, if we mobilize that, in the beginning we'll have about $2 billion. We can raise $8 billion in the market. And totally it becomes, say, $10 billion. And we don't finance directly. We finance through World Bank, through ADB, through AIB, which is, China has in fact two headquarters of multilateral banks. One is NDB, the New Development Bank, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. India has none. So that way India is essentially a good candidate to have the headquarters. And then what happens is that we co-finance to 20%. So essentially, we are trying to get $50 billion a year to the solar sector. 80% comes from other banks, 20% comes from the World Solar Bank. And together we put that much of money every year. So by 2030, at least we are talking about $500 billion dollar coming into the solar sector. And this will benefit mostly the small island countries, the LDCs, the countries who need the money most. We have to, of course, structure a lot of things. How whether we can lend directly to the banks with sovereign guarantees or we can refinance. All those things will be taken in the detailed project report. But as of now, we have the idea of taking it to the assembly. And I understand India, the host country, will be a potentially very strong candidate to have the headquarters.
60-odd countries have already ratified the ISA framework agreement, and some reports suggest that Germany too may join ISA. Is that in the pipeline? And also, is ISA heading towards universalization of its membership, considering that there has been an amendment to the ISA framework agreement to enable all UN member states to become its members?
Yes, in fact, to be more precise, 87 countries have signed the treaty. And we have 67 member countries, which means their internal process, the parliaments have ratified it. We have now got the first amendment has come into effect. 30 countries have ratified. It's a very complicated process in international treaties, how they get ratified. So initially, when ISA was conceived, the membership was limited to only countries between the tropics. So now that cap has been removed. So any UN member country, and theoretically 194 of them can be ISA members. In fact, we are talking about taking the soil from 194 countries and putting in the foundation building of the ISA headquarters, which maybe it may come in some central person so that the host country can showcase actually the ISA headquarters flying 194 flags of all the countries. It is a symbolic, it is a symbol of having an international organization in India. Germany is interested, and many other countries. Spain is interested, Italy is interested, because this is a good platform actually. It's a good platform not only to promote investment, this is a different organization altogether. It is action-oriented, it deals with practical projects, it assists countries in what way they need.
So as far as these projects are concerned, there would be tenders that would be floated. Has there been any discussion within ISA member countries on eligibility of China for these tenders?
Well, I must tell you, we don't float tenders in the sense that we buy things. Ours are price exploratory tenders. We try to find a price for our member countries. And we go by UN rules. So under UN rules, we don't discriminate, in the market. So we will follow the UN rules.
Under the aegis of ISA, India is assisting several countries to build solar parks. Tell us about the countries that India is assisting and what is it in terms of progress that we've made already so far?
Well, as I told earlier, ISA is a platform where we get best practices from various countries and try to spread it into other countries. One example can be Bangladesh. They have a public sector undertaking called IDCAL. And IDCAL gives pumps to women entrepreneurs. And they don't give pumps to the farmers. So the women entrepreneur actually puts a pump and then supplies water to 10 or 15 adjoining farmers, pricing them on the type of crops they grow. So this is one best practice. Now we are trying to take it out of Bangladesh to Uganda and Rwanda and all that. And then, and if you look at the best practices that are in Africa, for example, Rwanda has some of the best practices in solar cooling. We try to take it from Rwanda to other countries. And so far as solar park is concerned, India has done very well, and we would like to treat this as a best practice of India. Like LED example is the best practice of India. Training of, solar mechanics, Surya Mitras is the best practice in India. So we are taking out some of these best practices to other countries. So one such thing is solar park. So we have identified 10 countries which are solar rich, and starting from countries like Mali, where they have announced a 500 megawatt solar park, Togo, where they have announced 300 megawatt solar parks. We take help of NTPC, of Solar Energy Corporation of India as partners, and EESL as a partner who does all the price exploratory tender for us. So with the help of these public sector veterans, we take these projects, we assist them the way they want it in making the preparatory reports, in arranging finance for them, and then also bringing their experts to India to see the solar parks that India has built. And India has built some of the best solar parks in the world. One example being the one in Pavagada, Karnataka, where the entire land was never acquired. It was all taken on lease from the farmers, formed a society, and they built a financial trust to help the farmers. So some of the best models are available here. And in fact, in the Technology Summit, we have given an opportunity to the Solar Energy Corporation of India and to the government of Karnataka to make a presentation on the respective themes. Now, Solar Energy Corporation of India has brought out a tender. It's called 24/7 renewable energy. So it essentially says you get the renewable energy you want, the way you store, but give us for 24/7 because solar is not there at night, and the price is quite moderate. So this is one example again how you can promote 24/7 renewables. These are the themes that we're trying to highlight in the summit.
So ISA has done a lot of work 5 years since its launch. Are you satisfied with the kind of progress that this organization has made as its Director General? And what are the challenges that you foresee?
I'm absolutely satisfied because, 2.5 years since we got the legal personality, to work, starting something from the scratch, creating an organization, which is functioning, which is vibrant, which is globally recognized, which is now today talking about world summits. We have come a very long way. But, establishing an international organization is a time-taking, long-term process. We are going soon to recruit 16 international officers, from Africa, from Latin America, from Europe, and from Asia. That to make the secretariat, more broad-based, multilateral. We have just given 47 projects, innovation projects to island countries and LDCs. That with the help of NTPC and SECI will implement. These are all innovative projects that we are talking about to make solar popular. If you look at what are the challenges we have, one big challenge is financial sustainability because we don't have membership fee. And if you look at UN, it gets $2 billion as membership fee. IRENA gets $32 million as membership fee per year. But India, when we started, sorry, you got the whole thing.
नहीं फिर से बोल दीजिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
Okay. So
मैं हटा दूंगी, don't worry.
Yes, and when they, when ISA started and the International Steering Committee, they thought that ISA was new, it was experimental, it was proposing to bring in innovations, it was trying to be action-oriented. So let us start with a non-membership fee. So there is no membership fee. And we find that, financial sustainability is a big issue. So what we are planning is that when the World Solar Bank comes, we will link up a provision of the profit from World Solar Bank to come to ISA until the membership fee comes in. Except that challenge, I find we have tremendous cooperation from member countries. We always go by with the guidance of the Assembly, and below the Assembly, we have a standing committee which has India, France, Peru, and we have Togo, we have Tonga, and the UK. They are broadly the guiding factor. They meet twice a year. So essentially, we implement the mandate of the Assembly, and I'm sure if next Assembly is on 14th, 15th, 16th of June, we are bringing in a new scheme called Host Country Awards Day. And we encourage the states and UTs to participate. 3 states have participated, Karnataka, Haryana, and Madhya Pradesh. Essentially, they have deposited 10 crores each. The interest goes to a global award in the form of a global award. Kalpana Chawla Haryana Award goes in her name to one of the scientists in the world. Madhya Pradesh has put in the name of Vinova Bhave. The award goes to the country which promotes most solar energy pumps. And Karnataka has put in the name of Vishwesvaraya, the chief engineer who made the first hydro project in Karnataka in Asia. That goes to floating solar, the innovative, disruptive technologies that are coming in. We encourage more states to come in. So we come in with more and more innovative things to make solar popular.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Upendra Tripathi was speaking to us on DD India, and all the very best for the upcoming summit and your future endeavors.
Thank you.